U.S. Navy just fired 32 rounds at Mach 6, $25,000 each. 0 misses. That test ran 60 days ago off Guam. The Pentagon said nothing. China's defense ministry went silent for 72 hours straight. Here's why. Beijing spent $2 trillion building one weapon, the DF-21D carrier killer fleet. One objective, one doctrine. Sink American carriers before a single aircraft launches. 20 years, $2 trillion. On paper, it was working. The Railgun just made every dollar of it worthless. One tungsten round, 23 pounds, Mach 6, no warhead, no explosives. Cost, $25,000. China's DF-21D costs $10 million and fires once. The Railgun fires indefinitely. Its only ammunition is electricity. The Pacific math just changed permanently. Here's what China spent 20 years building. The DF-21D, the DF-26, the YJ-18 submarine-launched cruise missile, the entire DF anti-ship family. A $2 trillion arsenal built around a single strategic objective: kill American carriers before they launch a single aircraft. The Pentagon called it anti-access area denial. The Navy called it the carrier killer doctrine. And on paper, it was working. The math was brutal. A Nimitz-class carrier costs $13 billion. Add the air wing, the strike group, the support vessels, you're looking at $30 billion moving through open water. China fires 24 simultaneous DF-21Ds. Total cost to China, $240 million. The carrier dies. America loses $30 billion for $240 million. That's not an arms race. That's a slaughter. For 2 decades, every classified U.S. Navy wargame ended the same way. The carrier sinks, the Pacific Fleet retreats, Taiwan falls, the 2028 window slams shut. The Navy tried to close the gap. More SM-6 interceptors, more phalanx CIWS systems, more layered defenses. But there was a problem nobody wanted to say in front of the Appropriations Committee. Ships carry a finite magazine. A Burke-class destroyer carries 96 vertical launch system cells. That's it. When those 96 missiles are gone, the ship is naked. China's war planners didn't need a perfect missile. They needed enough missiles to drain the magazine, flood the zone, saturate the kill chain. Statistically, something gets through. But here's the question nobody is asking. What do you do when America deploys a weapon with an infinite magazine? The answer isn't more missiles. It never was. The answer is physics. The electromagnetic railgun doesn't use gunpowder. It doesn't carry an explosive warhead. It doesn't use any of the technology China's $2 trillion defense infrastructure was built to defeat. It uses electricity. 2 parallel conducting rails, a massive electromagnetic pulse, and a 23-pound tungsten projectile accelerates from 0 to Mach 6 in under 1 millisecond. That's 4,500 miles per hour. The kinetic energy at terminal impact is equivalent to a freight train hitting a concrete wall at full speed. No warhead required. At Mach 6, the projectile doesn't need to explode. The impact alone vaporizes the target. Here's what that means operationally. Range: 110 nautical miles confirmed by NAVSEA. That puts every Chinese naval asset in the South China Sea inside the engagement envelope. Every PLA destroyer, every submarine tender, every amphibious assault ship staging for the Taiwan corridor. All of them within range of a weapon they cannot track on terminal approach, cannot intercept with existing systems, and cannot afford to counter. And here's the part that should keep Beijing up at night. The power source is the carrier's own nuclear reactor. A Nimitz class generates 550 megawatts of electricity, enough to fire the railgun continuously, hundreds of rounds per hour, with no supply ship, no resupply at sea, and no finite magazine problem. Now here's what the Pentagon didn't announce publicly. In February 2025, the Navy quietly ran a 3-day live fire campaign at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. Joint Operation, NSWC Dahlgren Division, and NAVSEA's Joint Hypersonics Transition Office. The program had been officially shelved since 2021. Budget cuts, technical hurdles, shifting priorities. The public story was that the railgun was dead. It wasn't dead, it was classified. Then in October 2025, General Atomics unveiled the next generation version, hypersonic speed projectiles, new guidance package, capable of engaging not just anti-ship missiles, but ballistic missiles and cruise missiles simultaneously. They submitted it directly for President Trump's Golden Dome initiative, the multi-layered shield designed to protect the U.S. homeland from exactly the kind of saturation attack China's doctrine is built around. And it gets bigger. In December 2025, Trump announced the Trump-class battleships, 880 feet long, 30,000 to 40,000 tons, the largest guided missile surface combatants since World War II. Primary weapon system, the electromagnetic railgun. The Navy isn't testing this as a prototype anymore. They're designing the next generation of capital ships around it. The BAE systems, hypervelocity projectile, 24 inches long, 28 pounds, GPS guided, gives a single Burke-class destroyer up to 600 additional intercept-capable rounds. One ship, 600 shots, $25,000 each. China's carrier killer doctrine just ran into a wall it never modeled. Now run the math. One DF-21D, $10 million per missile. A full saturation strike, 24 simultaneous launches, $240 million. That was the price of threatening a carrier. That number was China's entire strategic equation for 20 years. Now run the countermath. Railgun engagement cost, $25,000 per round. To defeat 24 incoming DF-21Ds, the Navy fires 24 rounds. Total engagement cost, $600,000. China spends $240 million to threaten the carrier. America spends $600,000 to delete the threat. That's not a 10-to-1 cost ratio, that's a 400-to-1 cost ratio. Now scale it. China has invested $2 trillion in anti-ship missile capability since 2000. Every dollar of that investment was calculated against one assumption, that American defensive costs would always exceed Chinese offensive costs, that the economics of missile defense were fundamentally broken, that flooding the zone would always eventually work. The railgun kills that assumption permanently. Every dollar China now spends on anti-ship missiles is a dollar spent on a weapon system America can neutralize for 400 times less. There is no procurement cycle that fixes this. There is no technology program that closes a 400-to-1 cost gap before 2028. China built the wrong fleet for the wrong war, and the math they can't escape is this: $2 trillion in missiles versus a weapon that costs less per shot than a business-class ticket to Tokyo. That's not a tactical disadvantage for Beijing. That's a structural collapse of their entire Pacific deterrence doctrine, and Beijing knows it. Here's the question sitting in every PLA planning session right now. China has $2 trillion in missiles they can no longer use as intended. Does the PLA double down? Or does Beijing pivot to a completely new Pacific doctrine before the 2028 window closes? Drop your answer in the comments. But here's where it gets insane. The railgun isn't the complete picture. It's one layer of a weapons architecture that China's planners haven't fully wargamed yet. The F-47, America's 6th-generation air superiority platform, is already being integrated into the same targeting network. The F-47's AI processing architecture handles millions of sensor inputs simultaneously and assigns kill chains in milliseconds across an entire fleet battle space. That same architecture is now feeding directly into the carrier's railgun fire control system. Here's what that looks like in a Pacific engagement. The F-47 flies the outer air battle 300 miles from the carrier group. It detects a DF-26 launch from a Chinese submarine. That targeting data transmits to the carrier in under 1 second. The railgun fire control AI calculates intercept geometry. The round is in the air in under 8 seconds from initial detection. The DF-26's total flight time to target, 14 minutes. The railgun intercept, 90 seconds from detection. The Chinese missile never activates its terminal guidance system. It never gets close enough to see the carrier, and the next generation system, currently in accelerated testing at Dahlgren Naval Surface Warfare Center, extends range from 100 nautical miles to 200. At 200 miles, the engagement envelope covers the entire Taiwan Strait from a single carrier position. Every PLA landing craft, every Type 075 assault ship staging for the corridor, all of them inside the kill zone of a weapon, the PLA has no budget to counter. The 2028 deadline isn't a suggestion. It's the exact date the Pacific window slams shut. And America just installed the deadbolt. Here's the verdict. For 20 years, China built a $2 trillion missile fleet around one assumption, that the economics of missile offense would always beat missile defense. That flooding the zone with enough projectiles would eventually break any shield America could build. That assumption is now officially dead. The railgun doesn't just neutralize the DF-21D, it inverts the entire cost equation of naval warfare. Every Chinese missile that costs $10 million is now meeting a $25,000 response. Every dollar China spent on carrier killers is now an investment in weapons that cannot achieve their designed purpose. That's not an arms race, that's a trap. China built it for America, and then walked straight into it themselves. The era of the carrier killer is officially over. Now here's the question I want you to answer. If China's entire Pacific deterrence doctrine just collapsed, what does Beijing build next? Does the PLA pivot to submarines? Hypersonics? Or does China simply accept they've lost the naval equation before the war even starts? Drop it in the comments. The best theory becomes our next full video. See you in our next one.